Hey there folks, Gary Pierce here, and welcome back to module number 2 of the Green Hat Linking Strategies class. In this module, we're going to be discussing churn and burn methods. Now, what exactly is churn and burn? First of all, these are not designed for longer term or client websites. So if you got a website that you're overly concerned about branding and all that stuff, and you're concerned about that over the course of the long haul, then don't apply these strategies. Because there's a chance that you will burn your site out. Okay, again, don't use this stuff on client websites because you don't want it to have a negative effect on them. Our goal in doing the churn and burn method is simply short-term campaigns. Okay, our goal is to rank, and then we want to bank off of it and then move on to the next property. Now, you've seen me do this in some of the case studies that I've done when it comes to launches. This is a really effective method for using this with launches, because when it comes to a product launch, you've got the majority of the traffic that's going to be right at when the product launches for a week time frame, somewhere along those lines. So whenever it comes to that, you want to get ahead of the curve, and you want to blast it. And you're not concerned as much about what the long-term effect is of the site, because by the time anything negative happens to the site, you've already moved on to something else. Okay, so a couple of things that you want to really pay close attention to when it comes to the churn and burn method. Number one, again, like I said, is this is not to be used on client websites or longer-term branding sites, but what our goal is to just rank it, monetize it, and make as much money as we possibly can, and then we're going to move on to the next project. Okay, first of all, we want to pay close attention to what our link velocity is, and what I mean by that is link velocity is how fast or the speed of which you're building links to your website. Okay, so what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to have a huge spike of links and then it drop to nothing. Okay, that looks unnatural. It's okay to have the spike, but you want to make it want to look natural. Okay, so and again, it looks natural in the eyes of Google if there's a large spike. Like, think about a news story, right? If you think about a news story, there'll be a large spike in volume, and then it will trickle down a little bit. That's okay. So you want to just keep that in mind. You want to keep your link velocity in mind. You don't want to have this deep, sharp decline in links. That's not going to do your site well. So I personally like to, set my campaigns up, and then when I'm needing them to rank, let's say if it's for a launch, like I may be building, 5 to 10 links a day, and then all of a sudden, say a few days before the launch happens, then I'll throw it in an overdrive and boost my link building up even more by throwing in some automated tools. We'll talk more about the automated tools here in just a moment. But that's kind of the whole mindset. We want to monitor what our link velocity is going to these websites. Next, we want to pay attention to our linking. We want to diversify our linking, but in these instances, we don't want to diversify it too much. Okay. I've seen a lot of people that spread their anchor text out just where it's hundreds of keywords, and I'm finding you can rank on some of those things with over the course of like longer tail type stuff that's getting low search volume. But if you're wanting to rank for the money keywords that's actually going to make you something, you want to keep your anchor text a little tighter knit than that. Okay. So you don't want it to be these hundreds of keywords. You want to have a good diversification of your links, but again, you don't want it to be too much, and you don't want it to spread yourself so thin. In some instances, what I found is I've been able to, I would throw just a ton of links at something, and if I spread my anchor text out to where, I had hundreds of keywords, I would rank for a lot of the longer tail stuff. But when it come to that money keyword, somebody with, just a fraction of the links that I had would outrank me, okay? And the reason is because I was spreading myself too thin over the course of my anchor text. Now, we'll talk more about anchor text percentages here in just a moment. Now, again, the anchor text is all it is what the word is that's linking to your website, okay? Now, I'll say this. I've used this churn and burn strategy with more success using it against social profiles than what I have actual websites. And I think you'll see the same thing happens too. Now, you can still use this on websites, but you're going to get better results if you're using it against a social profile or a Web 2.0 profile, and you'll see your rankings stick a lot longer. Okay, so I've personally used this on Twitter. I love ranking Twitter profiles, Facebook fan pages, as well as Rebel Mouse pages. Now, the thing about these, about linking to these, is you have less control over the layout of your pages and things like that, and you're not going to have as great of a conversion as what you do on a site that you personally own. However, you don't have to. You can create these very, very easily. You can create them on the fly, and as soon as one's burned out, then you can move on to the next one, and you're done, long gone, or whatever. Another thing that to think of when it comes to these is you're taking away the if you're using a social profile, you're taking away having to set up silos. You're taking away the idea of having to set up a website, buying a domain, and all that stuff. You can just churn these out super, super fast. And the thing that I'm finding is that these rankings, like I said before, are lasting a lot longer. I've got some of these that have been ranking for years that I have like really hammered hard. Okay, so consider using some of those instead of just using just a straight up website. So in this instance, in the churn and burn method, we're not necessarily worried about tiering our links. Okay, so in some of the previous method, or some of the methods that I talk about, we discussed tiering and building authority to our tiers. In this case, we're not worried about tiering. We want to just get our links put out there, and we want to get them indexed as fast as we possibly can, and we want to continue building links, and we want to pay more attention to our anchor text as well as to our link velocity, especially if we're using this to a Web 2.0 profile. And when I say a Web 2.0 or a social profile, I'm kind of using those interchangeably. What I'm referring to is Twitter pages, Rebel Mouse pages, Facebook fan pages, even WordPress.com pages. You could use it for that. However, with some of these like WordPress and Tumblr, you're going to be you could possibly once you hit them with too many links, you could possibly get those banned. So just be mindful of that. So again, we're not worried about tiering our links. Tools to use, I discussed in the previous module. Rank Gold, you may have heard me talk about that before. This was a tool that I had built for myself, and basically this allows you to post to your own private blog network, as well as there's a built-in Web 2.0 network that you can post to as well. These links in the Web 2.0 network are getting indexed super, super fast. Okay, I'm not even using an indexing service, and they're getting indexed typically within 24 to 48 hours. Okay, the next tool that we want to use, that we can use, is a tool called GSA Search Engine Ranker. Okay, and this tool will outdo SE Nuke and Magic Submitter and all the other tools. It will pump out links a lot faster. Now, it's a little harder to use, and there are some tweaks that you have to make when it comes to GSA Search Engine Ranker. I'll talk about those here in just a moment. That's where, if you're using that tool, that's where you're probably going to get the biggest, I would say, bottleneck, or you might have the biggest issues with, is using GSA Search Engine Ranker, because there's so many options available to you. You've got to know what you're doing when it comes to that, especially when it comes to the anchor text ratios. That's one of the big things that you want to pay attention to, and I'll talk more about that as far as setting up your campaigns here in just a moment. Also, with this churn and burn method, you can use blog networks, whether it be your own private blog network, or if it's public networks like the Fightback network. That's one that's pretty popular now. That's the public blog network. And then there's another one that I've had some decent results out of called SE Slingshot. Now, these links that you're going to be getting from here are not, it's not going to be perfect as far as the content goes. It's just going to be links placed in random spots. The content is not going to be great. However, the domains that you're going to be getting the link from are pretty authoritative. They do have some decent metrics. Okay, so these are probably the two that I would recommend if you're going the blog network route. And then finally, you can actually buy links after you use Rank Gold, and then if you pump it up with some GSA, and then you throw some blog network links. If you're still not where you want to be, then you can boost that up by buying some SAPE links. Okay, and SAPE is at sape.ru. It's a Russian I shouldn't say blog network. It's a Russian link network where you can actually buy links. Now, the sites in the SAPE network are what would be considered dirty links. And what I mean by dirty links are these are hacked websites. And basically, you can go in and buy links on these hacked websites, and a lot of them will show up in the footer. They'll show up in headers. They'll show up in sidebars, and they will link to your sites. And I've had some great results on short-term projects using SAPE, but you've got to mix it in with some of the other things as well. So these are the 4 things that you can use when it comes to these short-term projects. However, when you're using SAPE links, just realize if you start buying links to SAPE, the downside is it's not something that you can just quit. Okay, so if you buy the links, and you start ranking, well, then you don't want to pull the links off of those sites, because then you're going to have that negative link velocity, like what I was talking about. So that's the downside. So if you can rank it without going the paid links route with SAPE, then I would recommend that you do that. Now, there's a lot of resellers for SAPE. Like if you go to Black Hat World and some other places, they'll sell you like monthly subscriptions. However, if you set up your own SAPE account, then you can get them a lot cheaper. Now, I did not set my own SAPE account up. And here's what I'm recommending that you do. If you don't speak Russian, which probably most of you watching this video don't, the website's in Russian. So what I would do, and here's what I personally did, I went to Odesk. It's outsourcing service, or a VA where you find VAs and stuff. So I went to Odesk. I put out a job application that said I needed help in buying links on a Russian link network. Okay, and that I needed help setting it up and buying links. And you must be able to speak Russian. And I had several different applicants, and I looked at the applications and made a decision from there. And then he set everything up for me. He set it actually on there's multiple sites other than just SAPE. SAPE is the most popular. So he set up multiple sites to buy these links from. And then we worked out a deal where I'm paying him $20 an hour to go out and buy my links. So he may go out, and if I have him buy 20 links, it may cost me, $10 in terms of just labor. Okay, but now these links you can buy them for a very little amount of money. Again, do not use these on client websites. Do not use these on longer term sites. Again, these are just to be strictly used on churn and burn sites. Now, I'll tell you this, I just had I had 2 sites that was ranking on page 1 for some fairly competitive keywords. They had been ranking for well over a year, and they just got hit, okay? These were short-term projects, that, like what I'm talking about here, this churn and burn, but they just got hit. So, you may see them sitting on page 1 for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you may see them where they drop off after a year or year and a half. Okay, so just realize you don't fall in love with them. You're doing this for a short-term pop, and you're doing it for a return on your investment. Okay, and as long as you're making a return, then you keep doing it. Okay, and then once it burns out, you move on to the next site. Okay, and like I said before, if you're doing this with Web 2.0 or social profiles, then you'll see that your rankings stick a lot longer than what they will as far as as an actual website. Now, details. So here's a few things that I found work really well for me when it comes to my overall linking process when it comes to churn and burn. First of all, we want to use our higher authority private blog network. So if you've got PBNs that you've bought that are high in PR or higher in authority, higher in trust flow, whatever metric you're looking at, if you're looking at the Moz score or the trust flow, I personally found that the Moz score can be manipulated by spam. The trust flow is probably a little bit more of an accurate number. But if you're still looking at PageRank, these are the sites that you want to be using your primary keyword as your anchor. Okay, so you want to use your higher authority sites with your keyword for your anchor. So if you've got these PBNs, then link from those with your primary keywords if at all possible. Okay. Next, you want to be sure that you randomize your anchors with GSA. So if you can randomize them with GSA and have a good random mixture of anchors going to it, and then you've got your PBN that's higher authority than what the GSA links are going to be, and you've got your main primary keywords that you're wanting to link to from your PBN, then it's going to help you in terms of ranking for those bigger money terms, okay? So I hope that makes sense. Now, if you're using social profiles like Facebook, Twitter, Rebel Mouse, here's the anchor text percentage that I'm going to recommend. And this would be something really close to what I would recommend when it come to your money site. I would, if it was your money site, I would use less keyword anchors, just a little bit, not by much though. Okay, so here's the secret ingredient, I guess you could say. First, we're going to set up our domain as an anchor for 30 to 40%. Now, if you are using GSA, you know what I'm referring to. This is the we'll log into GSA here in just a moment, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But we want our domain as anchor 30 to 40% of the time. We want to use generic keywords 5% of the time. We want branding keywords 5% of the time. And when I'm referring to branding, just as an example, let's say we're trying to rank, let's just use a local example, like say Phoenix Plumbing, right? Well, instead of linking with Phoenix Plumbing, your brand would be like Joe's Plumbing Service, okay? Whatever the name of the company is, whatever your brand is. If you don't have a brand, then make one up, okay? Partial match anchors need to be 10%. This is partial match keywords, okay? Then you want your main primary keyword anchors. Usually I have about 3 to 4 of these in my primary keyword tab, and that's what's going to make up the remainder of your keywords. And this is going to be somewhere around 40 to 50% of your overall anchors. So what that's going to do, that's going to put each of your primary keywords that you're trying to rank for, say it's 3 or 4 or 5 keywords, it's going to be somewhere between 8 and 10% of your overall anchors, okay? And I found that to be a good percentage based on what my tests have run, and I've had really good results doing this, like I said, with the Web 2.0s or social profiles. So let's go in. I want to show you a website to show you where to see where you can reserve these social profiles. So give me just a second. We will log in to, we'll go to Chrome, and I'll be right back. All right, so we're here at a site called Knowem. That's KNOWEM.com. And if you're wanting to use the Web 2.0 or social profiles like I do for this churn and burn method and use those as your money site, then this resource is going to be a big help to you. Because what this is going to do is this is going to allow you to search over the course of these social networks without having to go to each individual one and check the username. It's going to allow you to check it over the course of all of them. So let's just say, for example, that we wanted to look at Venus Factor. Okay, Venus Factor is a very hot ClickBank product. Let's say we wanted to create some social profiles around the term Venus Factor. And basically what we do is we just type in our keyword, our primary keyword. We will click check it. And what this is going to allow us to do is it's allow us to see which sites have this as our username, so we can actually go in and create that username, and we will then be able to build links to that page with that username, and that way it will have the relevancy that we need. So you'll see most of these have already been taken for Venus Factor. So what we can do is we can type in Venus Factor Review. We can also type in like Venus Factor Reviews, anything related to the particular keyword. And a good way to pick out some words to look at is if you go to Google and you just type in your primary keyword, you will see automatically in the automated the automated search here, you'll see these keywords plug in. So we're just going to type in Venus Factor, and we're going to hit enter, and then we're going to go down and we will see some suggestions here at the bottom. So you'll see Venus Factor reviews, Venus Factor, does it work? Then you've got this leptin. I don't know what this is. Maybe this is a comparable product. Maybe this is something that you could also look into to see if there's an affiliate program with it. I have no clue. Let's just click on Venus Factor Reviews, and let's see if we see anything related to that. Now, I want you to pay close attention here. Since we're talking about these Web 2.0s and social profiles ranking really well, for this particular keyword, Venus Factor Reviews, look, you've got a Rebel Mouse page here ranking number 1, and then if you scroll down, you've got a Facebook fan page, and then you've got a YouTube video, and if we scroll down, so 3 out of these top 10 spots are authority sites that have had pages or have sites built onto them, and then they've had links built to them. Obviously, there's got to be some links built to these in order for them to rank. So with that being said, what we do is we go right here to know them again, and if we don't get our keyword that we're looking for, we just try to find some variations. So like, let's say Venus Factor, we can type in Venus Factor guide and see what comes up with there. You just want something, if you can't get the primary keyword, then you can get something that's like a partial match to that keyword, and you'll see a lot more of these are available when it comes to this. Okay, so this is if you're using the Web 2.0 social aspect of this and creating sites or pages for your keywords to use in the churn and burn method, then this is the site that you're going to need. Now, if you are going to be going to if you're going to be going and buying a domain and all that, then simply go to Namecheap and do a search for the partial match keywords. And then you may also want to even look at doing some aged domains and seeing what there is. The main thing that you want to look at is you want to see what's going on in that particular niche, because different niches will have different things. So if we go right here and we go to new incognito window, Google is telling us and giving us clues as to what's ranking. So we just type in Venus Factor and in incognito mode and do a search for there. You'll see the main site's number 1, and then you've got this. You've got a variation of Venus Factor right here, just called The Venus. You've got the Rebel Mouse page. So what I would do is I would look in here and see how many of these are like Facebook fan pages, Rebel Mouse pages, Twitter pages, that sort of thing. And if the majority of them are, then what you can do is your goal is just to outdo those. So you'll see right off the bat here, there's 4 sites out of the top 10 that are higher authority sites. The majority of the other ones, looking at them, there's variations of the domain. So like Get Venus Factor, The Venus, VenusFactor.com. And then you've got some of these other ones. I would look into these and see if these are aged sites and see if they're actually linking to the individual pages and seeing what's going on. And then just make a determination from there. I don't like to say, always use partial matches or always use exact matches or always use age domains. I want to look and see what Google has given me in the search results, okay? Because that's going to be the best determining factor of what you should apply when it comes to going after a particular market. And that goes for other than just what we're talking about here with churn and burn. That goes with every strategy we're talking about. You want to look at what Google's given you and follow the footprints of why they're ranking stuff in the top 10. And with all the free tools that's out there, and even with some of the paid tools, you can get a good idea of what the ranking factors are for that particular niche or for that keyword. All right, one final note about using GSA Search Engine Ranker, and what I'll do is I'll include a few screenshots of a sample GSA campaign below in a PDF or something, so you can kind of get an idea, and so you'll know how to set up your churn and burn campaigns. First of all, I want to talk about how I used to set mine up when I first got started with GSA, because I was overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was doing. What I was doing is I was throwing in hundreds of keywords because I was just wanting to have just this wide diversity, and what I was saying before, I was ranking for some really long tail keywords, but for the money keywords that I was trying to rank for, I wasn't ranking. Okay, so what I did was I refined that approach and stopped throwing hundreds of keywords in there, and started using more domain as my anchor text, started using more brands, and started using really fine-tuning my anchor text and using more of my keywords, my money keywords that I wanted to rank for. And as a result, I started seeing a lot better results from that. Okay, so don't spread yourself too thin, is what I'm trying to say, and include like hundreds of thousands of keywords. Just don't do that. Especially if you're doing a Web 2.0 social profile, you can get by with being a little more aggressive on your anchors than what you can like a money site or whatnot. Second thing that I did when I first started was I would just check everything that I wanted to submit to, right? So in GSA, you can go in and you can check article directories, bookmarking, social networking, social bookmarking, blog commenting, forum profiles, Web 2.0s, wiki sites, right? I was checking all those, and that's what I was submitting to. Well, if you've used GSA, or if you've not, and you'll experience this, if you're buying lists, which I do, I buy a lot of lists, but you'll see that there's more forum profiles and blog comments than anything else. Okay, so that's just the way that there is. There's more forum profiles, there's more blog comments than there is Web 2.0s or social networks than anything else. So what was happening was my campaigns, since I had them all checked under one campaign, what was happening was my campaigns were submitting primarily just to forums and comments, and some of the other ones wasn't getting submitted to. So what I've done was I've spread these out and separated them. So one campaign will get social networks and wiki sites. Okay, that's just one campaign. Just those two are going to be submitted to. The next campaign is just going to be social bookmarks. The next campaign is just going to be forum profiles and comments. The next campaign is going to be Web 2.0s. I do not tier these out. We're not concerned with building authority. We're just concerned with getting as many links as possible in the time frame that we're allocated. Now, I do send these to an indexing service just to try to get these indexed as fast as possible. So this is the strategy. Again, you're going and you want to hit it from multiple angles. You want to hit it from multiple properties. But keep in mind, you want your money keywords being linked to your sites from your higher authority site. So if you're buying links, or if you're doing a private blog network, those sites are going to be more authoritative. Those sites are going to carry more juice than what a link is from a GSA property. So anyway, hope you've enjoyed this video. Included is a PDF below this video that will show a sample churn and burn campaign and how I set up my GSA. So I hope you've enjoyed this. This is Derek Pierce, and I will see you in module number 3.